Okay. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. We've got the...
We're going.
It keeps getting cramped.
These chairs.
Don't blame the chairs.
Today.
Don't blame the chairs.
Your diet.
Who's ever heard of the chairs causing cramp?
Every time I sit on these things,
Honestly. But you said you were getting cramps all day. You've not been sitting in these chairs all day.
I need to rehydrate.
Need more dill pickle chips and all will be well. Okay?
Aye.
All right, this is...
Working too hard in the gym, Stevie.
I think that's what it is.
I think so too.
I think that's what it is.
Let's take it down a bit.
And just get back to yoga and you'll be fine.
I forgot my water bottle when I left it.
You've got more than your water bottle. Lost his wallet and everything this week.
Oh, God.
What did you lose? Your gloves, your keys, your wallet? Who had to come and bail you out?
Can you believe I had to phone Burley again?
I know that hurt. I know that hurt.
My car keys and my wallet fell out of my pocket when I was up the woods walking the dog. I got to the car and I've noticed there's no keys, so I phoned them. I said, do us a favour, go to my house, get the spare keys, and then bring them back so I can take the dog home because it was too hot. And then I had to come back and walk around the woods. I did about 10 miles yesterday.
That's why you get a cramp.
I found my keys. That's what it is, aye.
Of course it is.
I found my keys, found my gloves, and lost my wallet.
Yeah.
I had to cancel all my credit cards.
Oh, man.
I've got to drive to Boston tomorrow. I'm getting on a plane on Sunday. I've got no cards, no money, no driving licence. Honestly.
And you've got cramp now as well.
Imagine sitting on them airplane seats.
Poor Steve.
Oh, you'll be cramping up before. I'll be so good.
All right. Gab, you're the show's ombudsman, apparently, and I know you heard all the chat about Ralf Rangnick earlier, so we'd like you to weigh in on your thoughts on the whole situation.
So, okay, so other than the total disrespect for poor Ralph, based on his 6 months at Manchester United as interim boss on a club that was in meltdown, I mean, that would have been a completely different situation from Bayern. But I'll put that to one side. No, I'm kind of trained to be skeptical. It's what I do for a living. I don't actually believe that he turned them down. On what we talked about in the Gab and Joe show, when he said, well, but, you know, my heart told me that I belong with Austria. What, did your heart go away 2 days earlier when you went and you met with Bayern? This idea that he turned them down for love of the project with Austria and the Austrian FA, I don't believe that for 1 second. I think much more plausibly, what happened is he was offered a situation at Bayern. They were discussing terms. It might have been length of contract. It might have been power, whatever. And he was confident they could get it over the line, and Bayern held fast. And that's why he's not there. So don't want to rain on anyone's parade. And the other thing, the trivia question, Shaka's trivia question. Anybody who was third and fourth choice, did they achieve anything? Well, I can think of somebody who is slightly younger than Ralf Rangnick, but not much younger. Somebody who was third choice, if not fourth choice, at a club that's much bigger or bigger than Bayern Munich, and nearly gave it away there. There aren't many clubs that are bigger than Bayern Munich, but this club, I think most would agree, is bigger than Bayern Munich. And since going back, he won a league title. He'll probably win a league title again this year, and he won a Champions League, and he might even win another Champions League this year. Any guesses who I'm talking about?
Yeah. He was third choice? I'm guessing it's Ancelotti, right?
Yes.
Third choice? Well.
Yeah,
okay.
they spoke to Max Allegri, they spoke to Antonio Conte. They had Antonio Conte all lined up. There was reportedly a bit of a player revolt saying, no, we don't want this guy. And kind of last minute thing, Florentino said, all right, we got to get somebody in. What about Ancelotti while we wait for Xabi Alonso or Raul to develop or whatever? And so he ended up rocking up. That's why he only had a 2-year deal, which he then extended. So it can work out. if you're
Imagine
Ancelotti.
leaving Everton to go to Real Madrid.
Oh.
What was he thinking?
I like Ancelotti even more now. I didn't think that was possible.
All right, Gab, if you had to sell Stevie on why Arne Slot will perpetuate the winning that Liverpool saw under Klopp, what would you tell him?
No. Just sell Stevie. If you had to sell Stevie.
All right, so I'm going to don my lawyer's hat here and make the case for Arne Slot. He is definitely charismatic and outspoken. He knows how to talk to fans, or certainly he knew how to do that at his previous clubs. And I think that's important in Liverpool, where, sure, if you got Jurgen Klopp, big personality and whatnot, you know, he became a folk hero. But even Rafa Benitez, very different personality from Klopp, became a cult hero as well. His football is very much front foot forward. I think probably even more so than Jurgen Klopp in terms of some of the risks that he takes. He's good at playing with younger players. He is not somebody, I don't want to say he's quite a company man, but he's a guy who knows how to work within budgets. And I think those are the main reasons why he was high on Spurs' list last year and why Liverpool think that he's the right guy.
Sold?
Aye.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's not top of the list, but I like the bit at the end where he's not about the budget thing. You know, Liverpool fans don't want to listen to somebody coming in and moaning about not getting this player and not getting that player and not buying this guy. Liverpool fans hate that. So I'm glad to hear that.
You know what, Stevie? That's a big thing because, you know, as we know, right, one of Klopp's things, which some people have forgotten about, is that, you know, he's at Liverpool, he needs a winger, he wants to sign Julian Brandt, and then the analytics nerds say, no, we're going to get Mo Salah instead. This Mo Salah guy, he's really, really good. And Klopp's like, yeah, but what about Julian Brandt? Eventually, Klopp relented. Klopp did not throw his toys out of the pram. Klopp did not say, back me. No, I want to choose my own players, blah, blah, blah. Klopp trusted them on Mohamed Salah. And I think most people would agree that Mohamed Salah turned out to be a pretty good signing for Liverpool. So I think you're going to get a little bit of that with Arne Slot as well, if he does end up being the Liverpool manager. Now, he's not perfect. I think there's other things that he's going to have to work on and adjust to. But I think those are some of the qualities that prompted Liverpool to want to sign him.
All right, Stevie, considering Poch had to build a team of new and young players with multiple injuries over the season, can Chelsea's season be called a relative success with Europe and 2 decent cup runs?
I think so. Yeah, if he gets this team into Europe, he's done a good job. And I still can't believe, right up until today, people are calling for his head. He's not a miracle worker. And the fact that he's done well in the Cups, I think is huge, certainly for the fans. But I actually don't remember certainly nobody on our show saying anything other than don't expect top 4, don't expect shooting for top 4 from Chelsea this season. We all said that just because we're moving into another season, the team's not going to get much better. It's certainly better, but it's not. I mean, it hasn't taken giant strides. They're slow, which you get with young players, but the strides in the right direction.
What's a relative success? Relative to what?
To what you've got, to where you were last year.
Oh, relative to where we were last year, relative to where you've spent. No. I don't think Chelsea gets into Europe. I don't think so. And while yes, they've had 2 really good cup runs, they capitulated in one final in a moment that I didn't think they would or should against Liverpool's kids. Can't remember what happened in the FA Cup now. Listen, Pochettino is not the problem at Chelsea, in my mind. Pochettino is not the problem. But to suggest that this season is, again, relative success, relative to what exactly?
Gab?
Pochettino's not the problem. Pochettino isn't necessarily the solution. And I think if you were to give Chelsea or Pochettino a grade for this season, it wouldn't be a letter grade. It would be INC for incomplete, because you can't judge him on a season where he's had this many injuries. Personally, I would have expected more in terms of pattern of play, more in terms of creativity. But then you just look at the injuries that they've had, and the fact that the injuries continued on and on and on throughout the season. I think it becomes really, really difficult to go and judge him. But I agree. I wouldn't call this season a success. I think there's reason to believe they should have been much farther forward in terms of the way they play. And by the way, in terms of what Stevie said, in terms of competing for Champions League places and whatnot, I mean, Villa and Spurs are competing for Champions League places this season. And even with the lineup that we saw this evening, the point. If you go through play...
That wasn't really the point, Gab. The point was that... nobody expected Villa and Spurs to be going for top 4 places. Nobody. You know, at the same time, none of us, including you, suggested that Chelsea would be in the top 4 or close to it. We all said that.
No, and plus,
by the way, and the other part of what you said about the patterns of play and the way they play the game is impossible. If you're constantly having to change the team with injuries, added to the fact that you've got a young team, then all your patterns and all these other things that you can see with finished articles, you're never going to see it. So how would they be challenging for Europe?
I'd argue that
if you put that on top of where they were when the season started.
Okay. Well, I'd argue that for a big chunk of the season, while they've obviously had injuries and Kunku and so on, you're going forward, most of the injuries have been at the back. And you ask yourself, Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, wasn't there tonight, but he's been fit, Conor Gallagher, Cole Palmer. In terms of the way Chelsea want to play, this fact that Cole Palmer has been shifted around and has been Chelsea's best player and was signed on the last day of the transfer window, I don't see the progress there. And you know what? Somebody has to finish top 4. A lot of people might have predicted that Manchester United might have imploded as they did this year. A lot of people might have thought that this would have been a bridge too far for Newcastle. Somebody has to finish in the top 4. So Villa and Spurs were the two sides that were competing for top 4. I look at this, Spurs have a new coach as well. Villa, Unai Emery hasn't been there a very long time either. Spurs have also had a whole bunch of injuries this season. You look at the raw material, I don't see why Chelsea can't be in the same conversation with Spurs and Villa, or shouldn't have been in the same conversation with Spurs and Villa this season, even with the injuries.
Well, think about what you said. You just said of all the biggest problems they had was at the back. Every single team, single successful team is built on a solid base, not just from defending, but from playing out from the back. So if you're constantly changing the back 4, then how are you supposed to get any sort of cohesion or any type of patterns of play? I mean, the back is just as important as the middle of the front.
Right.
And in fact, I would suggest that if you've got Erling Haaland up front, but you're changing your back line and you can't get him the ball, it's pointless having Erling Haaland. So there's another reason.
No, but that's fine, Stevie. Spurs have also had injuries. If you remember, we saw Emerson Royale playing at centre half this season for Spurs because everybody was injured.
It's a different argument, Gab. It's a different argument. Villa and Spurs weren't expected to do anything. It's a completely different ball game. It's a different argument with Villa and Spurs.
And by the way, as far as the injuries at the back and the chopping and changing, if you actually look, most of the people, I mean, the problem is their first choice people have been out. Wesley Fofana is basically a virtual footballer at this point because we've seen him for a long time.
Against your own argument
for the season. But
you've got players that are not starters, but you're expecting them to be kicking for top 4.
Yes, I do. I expect the team to be playing better. And if you're going to talk about implementing a philosophy and a style of play, no, just because you've got live bodies there and you're there to coach them. I mean, that's what a coach does, right?
Oh.
It's easy to
bodies
go
is hardly
and
an
coach
argument.
Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne.
Me and Shaka
right?
have got live bodies.
You're
haven't
out
we?
there.
All right.
Me and Shaka's got live bodies.
Speak for yourself.
You know what I've got? I've got a question for Shaka.
Oh, okay.
All right. Shaka, which team will you support during the Euros so I know who to bet against?
I'm back in France. I'm back in France.
Ezio's not wrong.
Hopefully then.
As you bet again.
I'm telling
Bet
Frank
against
what you did.
France.
And Jules.
No, I'm back in France.
All right. Shaka's
Leave me
going
alone
for
in
France.
France.
All right. That'll do it for the latest edition of Extra
That's a
Time.
bit harsh, as you.
Thank you so much. If you would like more debate team, ESPN FC style, then join us every single night here on ESPN FC.